Well, the Defense Department issued new rules for press in the Pentagon, and several major outlets are now saying that they're not going to sign them. These new rules bar journalists from accessing large parts of the Pentagon without an escort, and also stipulate that Secretary Hegseth can revoke reporters' credentials if they ask anyone in the department for information that he has not approved for release.
Now, Hegseth's team has set a deadline for today for reporters to acknowledge the policy in writing, and if they don't, they will have to turn their badges and clear out their workspaces as soon as tomorrow. In response, the New York Times, Washington Post, Atlantic, Reuters, Associated Press, CNN, and even the conservative network Newsmax have stated publicly that they will not sign on to those rules. Reuters explained their decision Monday, writing in a statement, quote, "We steadfastly believe in the press protections afforded by the U.S. Constitution, the unrestricted flow of information and journalism that serves the public interest without fear or favor. The Pentagon's new restrictions erode those fundamental values." And New York Times Washington Bureau Chief Richard Stevenson echoed Reuters' reasoning in a statement of his own words, saying, quote, "Journalists from the New York Times will not sign the Pentagon's revised press pass policy, which threatens to punish them for ordinary news gathering protected by the First Amendment." He continued, "The public has a right to know how the government and military are operating."
Meanwhile, Newsmax gave a less detailed explanation of their refusal to sign on, saying simply, "We believe the requirements are unnecessary and onerous and hope that the Pentagon will review the matter further." So far, the Pentagon has been dismissive of reporters' concerns. Chief spokesperson Sean Parnell insists that the rules establish common-sense media procedures, saying, quote, "The policy does not ask for them to agree, just to acknowledge that they understand what our policy is. This has caused reporters to have a full-blown meltdown, crying victim online. We stand by our policy because it's what's best for our troops and the national security of this country." As for Secretary Hegseth, he responded to the Times statement on X with a waving emoji, which many took to mean goodbye. So there's a little bit of semantics going on. They're saying that reporters just have to acknowledge that this policy exists because the Defense Department has the right to set its own policy. It has the right to say there's going to be no press allowed, whatever, in the building. Whether that's a good idea or not is a different matter. So it's not really it's not like the First Amendment doesn't give me or journalists or anyone the right to just access the Pentagon freely. Now, do I think they should have to acknowledge that? Well, maybe they can acknowledge it, but I don't want. Bottom line is, if they obtain some information that was not been approved by the Defense Department for release, they're going to publish it, and that'd be the right thing to do. You could be in both ideological directions with that. What if they found out, what if Newsmax or Fox News or me or someone found out that they still had DEI or something going on in some aspect of the Defense Department, and that's something our viewers, readers, etc. want to care about? We're going to write about that, even if it's embarrassing for the Pentagon and they wouldn't want conservatives to know about it, still going to do it. So, yeah, some policy of silence that enforced by the secretary is not it's no bueno. Not going to do it.
And I think what you want is accurate and impartial news, right? A journalist's job, whether it's for Newsmax, for The Hill, for News Nation, is to go in there and figure out what the story is through the truth. And so some people might not like how the truth turns out, right? And
some
part
people
of it,
in charge might not, yeah.
Right, some people in charge at the Pentagon might not like how the truth turns out. But by signing this document, you're agreeing that, okay, we are going to punish you if you're critical of us, basically, because It's not that you're unaware. Because before this, there would be public outcry, right? If the New York Times gets thrown out of the Pentagon because they reported a story that actually has a slew of facts around the Pentagon or something that's going on that they're not telling the American public, then the New York Times would look like they are amazing. Everybody would praise the story and be happy that they broke the news and had the whistleblower. But then now the Pentagon has the authority through signing this to say, get out, without the public having outcry because they agreed upon it, right? It's like signing a contract. And I just don't think that's how we want to run things. Obviously, I understand for national security, you don't want secrets about how we're going to, look into the next possible altercations with other countries being released early and tipping people off, or how we're going to handle Russia and Ukraine next and what days we're going to do it. But generally, that is not the stuff that
actual
is being...
battle plans.
Yes, that's not the stuff that's being leaked.
News outlets.
Because they understand the implications of doing something like that.
Right.
So I think by Hegseth and his team hiding behind the fact that they think people might release some sensitive information. No, it's only sensitive to the people that may be doing something a little bit unsavory, and the America would find out about it. And I find it interesting, and I like that Newsmax has also signed on with this as much as the other outlets that you call.
It could, as I said, it could affect in both directions.
In any way. And
there could be concerns conservatives have, even with a Republican-led Defense Department or a Democratic-led Defense Department, about how it's being operated. Again, the American people, right and left, should have access to more information. More of our government routinely keeps things secret because it wants to keep you in the dark. It wants, if it's not living up to conservative expectations, to MAGA values, well, we should be able to have that information and be able to hold them accountable. So I don't like that whole, well, it's at Pete Hegseth's discretion for what to release. Well, of course, he can operate that way, he can feel that way about it, but we should stand with news organizations on both the right and left that want to call to attention important stories, even if they're not pre-approved by the administration.
And people should be aware on both sides of the aisle that this is a 4-year term. So whatever happens in the next election is going to affect the way we move forward. And if we do get someone, let's say like a Newsom, who wants to play this game that Republicans are playing right now, then what happens Gruesome Newsom, Taco Trump. Yeah. So it's like, what happens when we go forward and the next person in charge is like, okay, we're going to make all these rules to affect Democrats. Like, I don't want to live in a country where we keep playing that ping pong. And I say this on so many levels. I say that they shouldn't have prosecuted Trump in the way that they did. And I think that Trump should not be going after Letitia James, Comey, and everyone that he is. But this goes beyond that right now. We're talking about just simple press. Like, imagine Democrats saying, oh, we're going to kick Newsmax out of the Pentagon just because we don't like the way that they're reporting. Like, that's not the way that we want to live. We're getting closer and closer to that uncomfortable thing that I keep bringing up, which is state-run media. You don't want only positive news about either side coming out. And the fact that we have access to so many different perspectives now with YouTube and media that comes out online and the free press now doing their thing with CBS, we have unlimited information, sometimes wrong, and that's problematic, but unlimited. And so when President Trump is allowing new and young media to come into spaces while at the same time Hegseth is trying to block people from reporting anything true, these are like oxymorons. They don't make any sense. Either you're going to open it up and embrace this new media, or you're going to become antiquated and make people distrustful of the media.
I like embracing new media, although some of the new media people they use ask very sycophantic questions, and it's not really hard-hitting journalism. Some of that is okay, because entertainment and personal flavor matter too. It's how people want to get their news, but we still need a little bit of hard hitting.
Yeah, you got to actually be vetted a little bit.
The only part of the policy I don't have a problem with, and I don't know about this, I've not been to the Pentagon, I've not done reporting there, so I don't know. I can't imagine it's not a secure facility, but the idea of journalists just wandering, or I don't even know that takes place, but they can't just, if they can't wander through the building, do they wander through the building? I can't imagine that actually happens, but fine, they need to be escorted around.
I guess pulling to the side somebody who doesn't like the current policy but works there but wants to be the whistleblower. They're concerned about that.
Gotta meet in gotta wear one of those overcoats and be in a parking garage.
Exactly.
With the hat pulled
very
down,
movie-like.
Very deep throat type thing. I got a story for you.
Coming up, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is offering some rare praise for Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Stick around.